In a quiet little village, nestled away from the bustle of the world, lived a man named Samuel. To everyone who knew him, Samuel was the picture of kindness and diligence. He was always the first to lend a hand, the first to offer a warm smile. But behind that gentle exterior, Samuel carried a heavy secret, a profound darkness that had haunted him for years. This wasn't a fleeting sadness, it was a deep, overwhelming shadow that colored his thoughts and guided his actions. The crushing weight of despair, the constant hum of anxiety, and the relentless pull of temptation surrounded him, slowly pulling him further and further away from the light of God he had once known so well. Each day was a battle fought in the silence of his own mind. He felt like he was drowning, the currents of his inner turmoil too strong to fight against. He longed for the peace he remembered from his youth, a time when faith was simple and God felt close. Now, a vast chasm seemed to separate him from that light, a chasm filled with his own fears and failures. He felt utterly and completely lost, a ship without a rudder, tossed about on a stormy sea of his own making. One fateful night, the weight became unbearable. Unable to find solace within the four walls of his home, Samuel found himself walking aimlessly into the woods that bordered the village. The moon was hidden behind a thick blanket of clouds, and the trees seemed to lean in, their branches like skeletal fingers, mirroring the emptiness he felt inside. He walked without a destination, his feet moving on their own accord, his heart a heavy stone in his chest. It was in this state of utter desolation that he stumbled, quite literally, upon something unexpected. In a small clearing, bathed in an eerie, soft glow that seemed to come from nowhere, stood an ancient stone altar. It looked as if it had been there for centuries, covered in moss and worn smooth by time and weather. It was an altar of prayer. An inexplicable force, a pull he couldn't understand or resist, drew him closer. He felt a flicker of something he hadn't felt in a long, long time, a tiny spark of curiosity, perhaps even hope. He approached the altar and, without a second thought, knelt on the damp earth before it. The cold stone felt solid beneath his trembling hands. He closed his eyes, and the dam he had built around his heart for so long finally broke. He poured out everything, the pain, the shame, the fear, the loneliness. He didn't use eloquent words, his prayer was a raw, desperate cry for help. He confessed the darkness that had taken root in his soul and the heavy chains of temptation and despair that pressed down on him, relentlessly threatening to extinguish the last embers of his spirit. He pleaded for a way out, for a rescue he felt he didn't deserve. In that very moment of pure, unvarnished vulnerability, something miraculous happened. A soft light began to emanate from the stone altar itself. It started as a gentle pulse, then grew stronger and brighter, pushing back the oppressive darkness of the woods, illuminating the entire clearing in a warm, golden radiance. The light was so pure, so brilliant, it seemed to cleanse the very air around him. Slowly, tentatively, Samuel opened his eyes, blinking against the brightness. And there, standing before him, was a figure. It wasn't a frightening apparition, but a radiant presence, emanating a love and warmth so profound it was almost overwhelming. It was a peace that passed all understanding, a love that accepted him completely, just as he was. Samuel, a voice spoke, and the sound was like gentle music, yet it resonated with an undeniable authority. "I have heard your cries. You are not alone in this battle. I am here to deliver you from the darkness." Samuel trembled, but it was no longer from fear. It was a trembling of awe, of disbelief, of a hope so powerful it made his heart ache. In that instant, he felt a surge of strength and courage he had never known, a deep-seated knowing that he was in the presence of the divine. The radiant figure reached out a hand and gently touched him. The moment of contact was like a jolt of pure life. Samuel felt the heavy, invisible chains that had bound his heart for so long begin to shatter and fall away. The oppressive darkness that had suffocated his spirit, that had been his constant companion, began to recede like a tide going out. It was replaced by a profound sense of peace and a clarity of mind he thought he had lost forever. The fog of confusion and despair was lifted, and for the first time in years, he could think clearly. "I am the light," the figure said, his voice filled with an infinite compassion. "I am Jesus, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I have come to guide you. Trust in me and you will find your way. Let go of your burdens, they are no longer yours to carry." As these words washed over him, Samuel felt a divine warmth flow through every part of his being, washing away the last remnants of his fear and doubt. He looked up, and he could now see a path leading out of the woods, a path he hadn't seen before, illuminated by this incredible, unwavering light of hope. The future was no longer a terrifying void, but a journey he was eager to begin. With a renewed sense of purpose that filled him from head to toe, Samuel stood up. He felt lighter, taller, no longer shackled by the darkness of his past. He was a new man. He returned to his village not as the broken man who had left it, but as a man on a mission. He was determined to share the light he had so freely received. He didn't hide his story or his struggles. He spoke openly of his experience in the woods, of his battle with the darkness, and of the incredible deliverance he found through his desperate prayer. He encouraged others who were fighting their own silent battles to seek help, to open their hearts, and to trust in the light of God that brings healing and true freedom. His testimony was powerful because it was real. People saw the change in him, the genuine peace in his eyes, the lightness in his step, and they listened. As time went on, Samuel became a true beacon of hope in his community. He sought out those who were struggling, those who felt lost and alone in their own darkness. He didn't preach at them, he listened. He guided them with the same compassion and understanding that had been shown to him. Together, they formed a support network, a fellowship of shared struggles and shared victories. This transformed the village. The undercurrent of quiet desperation was replaced by an atmosphere of love, acceptance, and healing. Through Samuel's journey, many people found their way back to a faith they had lost or had never known, just as he had. The story of his encounter at the altar, of the presence who delivered him, became a living symbol of hope and freedom throughout the region. It was a powerful reminder to everyone that no one is too far gone, that no darkness is too deep, and that no person is beyond redemption. The tale of Samuel's deliverance spread far and wide, carried on the winds of change, inspiring countless others to stop fighting in the shadows and to step into the lighter light that has the power to banish any darkness from our lives. And so the story continues, passed down from one generation to the next, an enduring testament to an unwavering truth: there is always hope, even in the deepest of shadows, for all who dare to seek the light. If this story resonated with you, and if you or someone you know is struggling, please remember you are not alone. Help is available. Never hesitate to reach out to a friend, a family member, a professional counselor, or a faith leader. There is strength in vulnerability, and there is always a path toward the light. Thank you for listening. If you were moved by Samuel's story, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content that inspires hope and faith.